Before we get started, I just want to let you know that I've got a cold, so my voice is a little bit hoarse in this video. I'm pretty much recovered, but if my voice sounds a bit different, it's because I am a plague-carrying rat at this time of recording. So thanks for understanding. Onto the video. What's the best way to describe this movie? A romantic drama about the entangled relationship of three tennis professionals? I mean, technically, yes, but I think it's missing something. A 2-hour, 11-minute roller coaster of unpleasant characters doing unpleasant things contained within a plot and timeline as dysfunctional as their messy relationships? We're getting a lot closer, but still not quite there yet. A down and dirty lesson about how to lose friends and dominate people? Pretty much, just a little bit more, just give me a little bit more. A movie about power and how to play with it. There we go. Challengers received a lot of hype before it came out this April for reasons, and for all its sauciness. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said it like that. Saucy just doesn't sound like a word that you use. Anyway, if a straightforward, sex-filled steam fest is what you're looking for when going into this film, then you're probably going to be sorely disappointed. Challengers, for me, didn't actually feel that sexually charged, despite some graphic scenes, or feel like the heart of the tension was romantic or erotic desire. Certainly not, for example, in the same way that Nocturnal Animals is. A comparison that is surprisingly fitting when we think about how both films utilize a really strong visual style and distinct musical score for its storytelling. Oh, and this is just a bit of an aside, but did you know that Nocturnal Animals was directed by Tom Ford? Yes, that Tom Ford you're thinking about, the fashion designer and film director. Just me? Okay, moving on. In the same way, if you thought this was going to be a film about tennis, like these people, then you're probably also going to be sorely disappointed, like these people. Despite appearances, Challengers is not about tennis. The movie could focus on any other sport, and it would still only be used as an extended metaphor for something else entirely. Instead, Challengers is about almost everything in this film is working to portray the power dynamics between Tashi, Art, and Patrick. And I think the way the film completely commits to that theme and vision, even though it results in incredibly unlikable characters and cinematography and pacing that doesn't always hit the mark, I think the film succeeds in being an admirable expression of auteur-led filmmaking. Let me run the plot by you real quick. The synopsis is pretty simple, actually. Art Donaldson is a famous pro tennis player who is having a bad season after an injury. Tashi Donaldson, a former tennis prodigy and his wife and coach, because that's not a bad idea at all, gets him to compete in a small challenger event, a type of tennis competition for high-level professional tennis players, so that he can gain his confidence back. But who else do they find there competing except for Patrick Zweig, a talented but undisciplined tennis player whose career has been pretty middling, though he used to be unbeatable in high school, which Art would know because he was beaten by Patrick, who was his best friend, in the Junior US Open final. Oh, and yeah, Patrick used to date Tashi. Okay, so already we know this film is going to be unapologetically messy and full of drama, and it is, and I'll get on to that. But let me first talk about how this emotional messiness is reflected in the film's timeline. Though the main confrontation of the movie is on the court between Art and Patrick, playing in the final of the Challenger event, the plot is made up of fragmentary flashbacks detailing the complicated relationship between our three main characters. First, tiny criticism, because I think the film can take it. I found that the time splits do border on tiresome at points. What saves it is that in exchange, they do for the most part succeed in slowly revealing the torrid history between each character, with juicy plot reveals done really effectively in places. The cinematography is bold from the start. The way I see it, the camera work is performing its own power play over the audience. It whips this way and that, first serves an overhead shot, then a wide shot, 4 hands, a long take in one scene gives you aggressive volleys of cuts in the other. The camera is not a passive lens, silently broadcasting the film's perspective. No, the camera's eye is aggressive, showboating and a show-off. The camera is not pretending to present the truth of the narrative, it is choosing what it wants the audience to see. Does the cinematography show off a little too much? Maybe. There are some places where the emotion of the characters could have carried the heft of the scene without what I would describe as in your face and liking it camera work. But I think the last 15 minutes showing the climax of Art and Patrick's match makes the other cinematic misfires more acceptable. These last 15 minutes display a triumphant level of camera technique and imagery, perfectly encapsulating 3 main things: the exhilarating movement of tennis, the buzzing energy and tension a beloved sport can rise in a spectator, and more specifically for the plot, finally expressing the full explosive emotional intensity seething between the 2 male characters. When I say these characters are messy, I mean they are messy. All of them are unpleasant in different ways. Art is a wimp, Patrick is a jerk, but the crown for deeply unlikable characters has to go to Tashi. In all other cases, I would have been really put off with how Machiavellian, uncaring, arrogant, and overall unpleasant Tashi is. And I think this is either a conscious choice implemented by Zendaya or simply a quality of Zendaya's personality manifesting in her acting. You know, in the same way Ryan Reynolds doesn't seem to be able to actually act, but is really just Ryan Reynolds playing a character. But I think the overwhelming casualness and blasé confidence in Tashi audaciously juxtaposes her clearly terrible and self-involved actions in a way that makes her almost beyond reproach, and definitely a captivating, frustrating, jaw-dropping watch. What Tashi wants, Tashi will go for, no matter who or what is in the way. She kind of reminds me of Blue Bloom, the photojournalist anti-hero of the film Nightcrawler, who does everything he can, legally and eventually illegally, to get the news story. When she physically can't succeed in tennis herself after a career-ending injury, she saddles Art like a pack horse and rides him into tennis success. There is no moral dilemma, no angel or devil on her shoulder wrestling with good and evil. There are only 2 little devils trading ideas, and Tashi listens to them both. Some people would say that her lack of moral compass makes her a boring, unbelievable character, but I would argue, 1, her commitment to dominating over her relationships like she dominates in tennis drives the narrative to gasp-worthy drama. If there was ever a movie that made me unironically say, oh no she didn't, this would be the one. And 2, you probably haven't met nearly enough self-assured, morally bankrupt narcissists yet, for which I envy you. While on the subject, power, who's got it, who wants it, who never had it, Art is a key aspect of understanding this film. It's seen everywhere, from the costume choice, like the I told ya shirt passing between Tashi and Patrick as a symbol of their battle for dominance, to the use of one-way dialogue at the very start of the film, with Tashi talking at Art without him responding to instantly indicate who is wearing the pants in the relationship. My favorite symbol of the shifting power dynamics in the movie is through the sound design. Yes, the loud German techno music is in your face and obnoxious. It's supposed to be. It's a symbol of having the upper hand, competitiveness, allure, and yes, dominance. It is Tashi's leitmotif, that is a reoccurring musical theme that we quickly come to associate with Tashi's cunning, Machiavellian, self-assured nature. However, the scene I most appreciated the use of the music didn't have Tashi physically in it at all. It's the scene where Art and Patrick are in the sauna, the conversation they're having, a barely veiled battle for dominance. Patrick is trying to gain the upper hand in Art's emotions before the final, but the only time Art is able to hold his own own and even win this conversational power play is in the sauna, with him sitting on a higher level than Patrick, the camera taking an extremely low shot to emphasize the level disparity, and with Tashi's techno music playing at the forefront. Paired with the music, Art starts to sound like Tashi, sneer like Tashi, volley verbal comebacks like Tashi. It was like watching Art become completely possessed by Tashi's spirit, using Art as her body double and mouthpiece against Patrick. Challenges is an ambitious movie, and I don't think it could have told the story it's trying to tell nearly as well if it didn't try push the envelope on both the amount of entertaining drama and messiness the characters put each other through, or the amount of pirouetting camera work being displayed to the audience. Does the cinematography always work out? No. And the pacing is a bit jarring and fragmented, but I would much prefer a film that tries too hard in accomplishing a clear vision and artistic direction and miss a few of those shots than one that doesn't do enough to sell the story, especially one as frankly absurdly melodramatic as this one. Guadagnino does sell the story, and so do the actors, and as a result, I'm sold. Or should I say, I'm in 40 love. I'm sorry, but the puns write themselves.